Hi, this is Lesley Wengembo, and this is the Shawk23 podcast by creatives for creatives.
Hi, I'm Shawk23, and this is the Shawk23 podcast. This is the podcast by creatives for creatives, where I talk with other people in the creative and media industry, and we share our knowledge and our experiences. My guest for today is a well-known fine artist who's been making waves, especially this year, and he's well known for his realistic portraits. And he's also making waves also in Australia. And I'm so honored to have him on the show today. It's none other than Lesley Wengembo. Wengembo?
Yes.
Mate, I
You
have to get that part right.
I think you get it, yeah.
How are you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm good, yeah. Just being, trying to do some work and pumping up some creative stuff coming up. But yeah, at the moment I'm trying to relax, it's Saturday and stuff, so yeah. But thank you for having me, yes.
True. Thank you for making the time to come in and have this nice discussion between two different artists. But before we do that, here's a word from our sponsor who made all of this possible. The Shawk23 podcast is proudly sponsored by Smart Hills Corporate Solutions. Smart Hills Corporate Solutions provide IT solutions for corporate businesses and creatives like myself. They provide a wide range of products and services and are certified resellers of software such as Microsoft Office, Adobe Creative Cloud, Wondershare, and more. To find out more, please visit their website on www.smarthills.com.pg. Now back to the show. And we're back. So Lesley, tell me more about yourself. For those to my audience members who do not know who you are and what you do, could you please tell them who you are?
All right, yes. So my name is Lesley Wengembo, and I've been painting for almost 12 years, I'll say, yeah. And as a professional, I paint for now, I think I do my works for now, it's almost 5 years. But yeah, it took a bit of more of like, a lot of commitments, and you have to go through so many processes to be where you are, especially like you're not born to be that good to do something, but you have to work hard to achieve that. So yeah.
It's pretty impressive what you've accomplished so far. And where are you from, by the way?
Oh yes, so many people kind of see me as like I'm from somewhere in the Moresby and stuff. The fact is that I'm from Southern Islands and
Mangi South.
Yes, I'm from Pangaea. I mean, I'll say I'm from Southern Islands and then Southern Islands and Madang.
Okay.
And Bunde and so. But one thing is that I spent some of my years in my mom's village that was in Madang.
Okay.
And yeah.
So that's where people associate you with Moresby side.
Yes. So yeah, but I'll say I'm all about PNG because
your work has really stood out and captivated a lot of people, especially on social media. How has that been like for you?
Yeah. Oh, honestly, it's
like when was the moment when you realized that like you draw a huge following whenever you post your art? Like when was the moment? When was it that you kind of clicked that, hey, like people actually think my work is actually that good that it draws all this people towards it?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was, the fact is that when I started painting, I didn't know that I could, even social media, I don't like doing social media when I was like very young, and I didn't think about posting my stuff or try to put myself out there. I do it because I love painting and I love doing those works. But everything came when I was like in high school. I think I was in Port Moresby National. I was in POMNETS, National High School.
What year were you?
That was in 2016.
Okay.
That was in 2016, yeah.
I was POMNETS as well.
Oh, so yes, Brick City, yes.
Let's go.
So
that explains a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was in POMNETS and I did this painting. It was I think 140 by 100 meter, and it was this huge hyper-realistic portraiture I did of its title transition, and that the face is comprises of 3 different faces in one painting, in one portrait, and it is of an elderly person. And that piece, It looks so much like a photograph that I just posted on my page that I just newly created, and I didn't know how people gonna react to it. And you know what? It just goes viral. People share it. It got like 100,000 plus share, and it was so crazy. And my page is like just rocking.
Kind of like
going
overnight.
on. Yeah, overnight. And people, but the thing is that it become this conspiracy or something like that people like comments and negativity saying that it's a photograph.
Oh, they couldn't believe that you could draw that realistically. Yeah,
so they actually saying that it's a photograph. You actually took a photo and you edit it and make it as it's a photograph. And people were talking about it and they said, you got to show the proof that you are actually doing this as a painting. And then later, I later posted another photo again and showing the process of it. And it was just so crazy, but I kind of liked it when that happened because that's what kind of bring my work to another level. And at the time, I knew that, wow, art, even though I was in a really great school, I could get into university, do any other thing. But at that moment, I realized that, wow, there's something about art that I going to, explore more and maybe making it as my career, and which I always wanted to. And one thing is that I want to travel and I wanted to see the world and stuff. And I love these stories of all the great masters and artists and how their life is and stuff. And I've always knew that I'm an artist and I wanted to be an artist. Even though, family expectations is always something, you have to go to university, you have to complete your high school, go into university and going to good jobs, normal jobs.
The normal route normal expectations that parents have. Mm-hmm.
That's right, yeah, like doing things that every other people have done. And which is the expectation, and I prove that I get into to Pacific Advantage and to do other course and stuff, but I withdraw out of it because I knew, because at that moment I saw a few of my works, and it was in the course where I see that I could actually make a living out of it, and that kind of changed my whole perspective. I just withdraw from school, I stay home, and then just paint.
Wow.
And that's how I ended up where I am right now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. And it's it's like your story, your art style is I know that it had to take you a very long time to master your art style. How would you describe your art style?
Yeah. So I think the thing is that throughout my career as an artist, I love experimenting. And I do all sorts of styles, and when I begin to paint, I kind of appropriate all the Renaissance work.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like seeing it through books and stuff, and then I appropriate it in the traditional sense. I do Mona Lisa painting, but then I do that painting in where that lady wearing a Mary blouse, and I do this really grayscale, it's a what's the process? Yeah, that grayscale kind of work, and it's everything. It looks so I just do all these different types of technique, and then I go to surrealism and I go to different technique to abstract and landscape also, and then but when I find hyperrealism, that was in 2016, I was like, oh, this is it. I just find this patience in it, and it makes me just wanted to. That's what kind of got me to go that far as I am right now, because of that. It impacts a lot of people. That it's not only in Papua New Guinea, but when I like traveling to Australia, when I visited there the first time, people just came and they wanted to see me, but in a way that because they were moved by the work that I created, and they said that the thing that comes out of the mouth is we felt emotion, something when we look at the work, and that kind of thing is it happens it shows the signs of your work is it's becoming an impactful for people who have no connections about anything of where you are or where you come from and stuff, but art make this connection. And that's why I love passion doing this kind of work and style and stuff.
Yeah, I feel, I mean, I understand. I always define art as an emotional experience, not one of like the senses. Like you see and you hear, but if a piece of art, whether it be music or poetry or a script or a movie, and if it can affect your emotion or give you an emotional, like trigger you emotionally, whether positively or negatively, it's it's done. That's art
That's the
has served
purpose
it.
of art, yes.
Exactly, it's served its purpose. For
Yes.
me personally, like I love your realistic portraits because I think everybody can easily copy a picture and just I remember I had an artist friend who was very against like hyper realism because they were like, just take a photo, they like to do abstract art. And I totally understood that. But then there's a certain vibrancy that you bring to all of your portraits. I think it's also the colors that you use, and it just brings it breathes kind of like a new kind of life into your artwork. And I resonate, and I think what other people feel as well. It's just not a direct copy of a photograph or someone. It's like your interpretation, kind of like your perspective of how you see those people. How long did it take you to, or how did you start mastering that craft of art? When did it all begin?
Yeah, as I said, like, it took this really long process to come to where I am. But everything kind of works when I feel like when I put my mind into doing something. Like the hyperrealism, I have no idea. Like I love to draw from reference and photos or paintings like that.
Were you always that kid who
Yeah.
just likes to doodle? Yeah.
I love just doing all these things. And when I see some ideas, I just like sketch it down quickly, or I just or if I see something different, and I always fascinated with faces. And not until like in 2015 or something that I went through like YouTube videos and I saw this artist he's from Brazil. His name is Fabiano Malani, and he creates this really crazy portrait, hyper realistic portrait, and it was a time lapse, like 4 minute time lapse, and I just watched all of it, and I was like, oh shit, I could try that. I want to try this. I want to see if I could do that because it looks so interesting, and that's what brought me into art. Just by looking at something, and I felt like I can do it, and I just go ahead and doing it, and that kind of led me to find hyper realistic. But in a way, like I feel like there's a long journey as for myself that and there's so much to explore in art, and I like to explore so many things, and even like when I was in art school in Sydney, I didn't even do my work that I usually do like hyper realistic. I completely experiment with different types of work and different medium. I use like I do collage. I do all sorts of work. I do works that I don't do in a way to expand my boundary and try to see what I could do with my work or what I could incorporate, what I could contribute to build my portfolio, to build my work, to take it to the next level. And I felt like this is what every artist has tried to find is find their voice, but also find their style that is so unique with other stuff. But as you were saying, like with hyper-realistic work, like what you felt about this work, that it could be, you could paint a photograph and it could be a photograph. But if you create something that's emotive, it has the emotion to it. That's I would say the purpose of what it's achieved, because if you can make a person study in your work and they just sobbing or crying or they mad at it, that's like that's always the goal. There was this exhibition I did in Sydney in 2021, and it's like it's this big art show called the Art Art Show, and it is with the Art Basel, and like it's a big thing happening in Miami and stuff like that. It happened in Sydney that they told me to do an exhibition with the whole team and stuff like that. And I put few of my works out there, and one of them was one of my big hyper-realistic portrait. And yeah, the work just in the corner, like in the front of it, and there was this one lady came and stand in front of the work, and she started crying.
Wow.
And I don't know what I was just looking at her, I don't know what I'm gonna say or what I'm gonna do. And I thought that like she has some connection to PNG, or maybe she might have some ideas of where this person like where, I have some connection to PNG, And I talked to her and I was like, I'm the artist and stuff. And do you have any connection? Like, PNG was, and she has no idea. What she was saying is that she thought that she knows that person from another life or another timeline, that connection. And that's why she was crying, because she felt like she want to hug that guy, or like, maybe he said it is probably my father or something. That's what she felt. And that, it was like, wow, your work could, it becoming this universal language, even though you create something so unique, and so it's more culturally motive, where, we're talking about the separate groups or something like that, but I felt like that, like, an art can speak of, you can do it in different form or different ways, but it has this connection to people individually. Like, they always have a personal connection when they standing in front of a work. It could be any sorts of work, like music or movies or like books or poetry or stuff. But everyone have their own ways to consuming it. In a certain way.
That's always the interesting part of like putting your work out there, is that you create it like one way. Like you don't intend to have that kind of for people to have that kind of like interpretation or to see that way. To you, it's just another painting, another work, or you were just inspired and then you put it out there. But then they have their reaction to it, and then they see it from their point of view that you did not realize that, or it could be seen that way. And I remember I drew like this really. There was I did a collaboration with a photographer, and they took a photo of the lid of one of these Jack Daniels. And so I drew like a character hiding behind it. And my idea was like Jack and the Beanstalk, like a giant. And then one of these commenters just like, oh, it could represent like the child that grows up in with an alcoholic father, and he's hiding from abuse, or he could, like, they saw it that way. And then like another one was like, oh, it could be represent like their inner child using alcoholism to like hide it. I was just like stunned. I was just like, no, I was just like trying to tell a story of like Jack and the Beanstalk and him hiding the giant, but like people like looked deeper and they saw that, and like I relate on that level, that you just don't know how people respond, or the power of your own art to have to your audience.
Yeah, you know what was he saying? Like I mean, there's this one question I actually like. I create this TikTok video, and recently I responded to one of the TikTok fan. Like, he was talking about like, do you have any description on your like your work? Does it speaks of anything? And I responded in a video, and I kind of talk about like, you sometimes have to give the explanation to people, to audience. You have to create the work and make it mysterious, and then give it to the audience to give its meaning, and then it becomes a personal connection to people like that. Like,
and that's the fun of it as well, because like I had this conversation with Son of Ashes, and it's like sometimes we post stuff that does not really have a meaning. It's just us doodling, and then so sometimes we're just like, you figure it out. What do you see? And what they come up with is very interesting, and it speaks on the whole level of just the power of art in general, and how powerful and effective artists have on society. And I've recently like started to understand or to realize the artist's role over history, how art and history has always had a relationship and connected. They've always told stories of what has happened as history happens, and always provided like a different perspective. It's just very interesting to understand, and just to have this conversation. I also like the fact that you're open to experimentation and like to try different art styles. Like, you're not confined to your one thing. Even though you found something that you really like, you're still open to learning about other art styles and different mediums. I resonate as well, because I really like to experiment. Even though I have like a particular art style I think that I'm known for, I still like to try and experiment out of the box, because that's just the fun way to learn as well. And you also mentioned like when you started, you kind of copied existing artwork and then made it your own in a way. And I relate because I started that way as well. Like I watch all these cartoons and then I was like, I'll just mimic. And then when I got good enough to like alter it and try to bring out my imagination, it just kind of took it to a whole new level. And you've studied abroad, like in Australia. So how did that happen?
Yeah. So the journey was, it's not coincidence, but it was meant to happen. Because I always wanted to study abroad. Like I wasn't thinking about doing an art course here in PNG, and even though I got to do other subjects and stuff, like I really wanted to do is to go to an actual like art school. So I was actually accepted to go to Florence to do in one of the Florence Academy of Art. It's one of the prestigious art school. And
Wow.
yeah, so
Did you apply?
I applied and I got in, and so I was supposed to go there, but thing is that it's so far away. And
Where is the school?
it's in Italy.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
Wow. The pizza.
Oh my God. Yeah, but then everything changes when I went to Sydney, because I have to go to Sydney and apply for visa to go there.
Okay.
So when I went to Sydney, I met Lisa. She's like my guardian parent down in Australia. And she's also a fan of my work. And we just made this connection, and she kind of asked me like, hey, have you ever thinking about studying like in Australia? Not like abroad, but like Australia. It's closer to home and you could visit family once in a while. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do that. Do you know any art school here? I was like, oh yeah, there's actually one. It's so prestigious art school, like National Art School of Australia. I was like, yeah, let's go check it out. So we went there. First thing first, I went to the facility. I was like blown away by the structure and stuff. It actually looks like you are in Italy because it's an old buildings, and it was once a prison camp. Yeah. But it has this like really dark stories to it. But then it's an art school, which makes it more cool, And even the studios are really nice, and I saw some few students in there. Was like, wow, I think this is the place that I should be. Even though we went to other, and then I applied. I just applied, and they actually see my portfolios. They just call me in. They say, come and interview. So I went straight for interview, even though the interview was they interview all the students already, but I went like 3 or 4 weeks late or something like that. But they said, we're going to make your time to come and have an interview with you. So the director was not the assistant director or whatever. They made the time to sit and he just looked at my portfolio, and they were like, yep, we got you. And they were just telling me like, we don't have much to teach you, but you do lots of drawings. So, so I was like, I'm down for it.
That's basically the highest compliment that you can get as an artist.
I was like, well, thank you.
I don't have anything to teach you, but like, if you want to just, hang around. Did they offer you a scholarship? Are you on a scholarship or?
Not really. Actually, not really. It's the process of me getting there. It was really like I was grinding myself to go, because at the time I was doing I was doing a commission for here in Port Moresby, like this big. I'm doing this big portraiture for a lawyer here. So I got some monies and stuff like that. So I'm like saving up for it. So I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. So I just do it myself, just to get there, and then when I was down there, like I write for sponsorship and stuff, and then I got some few people kind of who were helping in, like, who were, sponsoring me in a way that they bought my work. So I just put my work out there. I was like, I will create this certain amount of work, and you just pay me this, and I'll pay for it. Wow. So I did that. Like I just sell my work to pay for my fees. For this.
It's just the grind.
Yeah. It was crazy, and to live in Sydney is so tough, man. Like and the thing is that
it's an expensive city.
It's an expensive city, and for myself, like I don't came from a really like a family or anything. Like we are from when you talk about minimum, we are like I was raised in Morata, which is like one of the, and going there, like you live in the city, it's so expensive, and how could you even? But man, you're talking about grinding as an artist. I do all this part-time job as I could do, like not part-time, but I actually like to stand behind the camera in a way. I just go to do extras in the movies, and ended up in like Mad Max. It was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
The new one that's coming out?
Yeah, the new one is
I
coming.
saw the trailer.
Yeah, so
yesterday.
it was. I was like, I saw everything happen. I was like,
No spoilers, no spoilers. It looked really good.
so it was like getting into all this little bit of like stuff, like grinding. But then you have to pay your rent, and so you're doing all this cool stuff to just, which was so
So
interesting.
you're renting as well in Sydney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that I think I did like really well down there in a way, because my work was also kind of blown up. People started to commission me, or people started to. So I actually sold all my work, and I don't have anything for exhibition, and that's a crazy thing. Yeah. So I actually made a really good living down there in a way because of everything. Like, and it's so inspiring, because I was like, wow, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And making my way through, and then I kind of ended up being finishing up. But for the second and third year of my school down there, I got this really like this one person, like he actually sponsored me throughout his name is Timothy Fairfax, is one of the really like he's a philanthropy in art and stuff like that. So he helped me to like kind of sponsored me throughout my my year. But everything happened because of the way I kind of ground myself to get myself there first. Even though you have to push yourself there to get there, if you don't do anything, you won't get anywhere. In a way, like I just like that I take the first steps, and I felt like things just kind of, coming together and yeah. But always I thank people who were always there for me, and always thank God for, bringing me to meet those people and to experience everything. And and it's always a start, so I'm just looking forward for
just for you to consider it, like it's like just the tip of the iceberg, that you're still young and you haven't even reached your prime or your peak yet. I mean, I think there's a verse that says that your gift will make room for you, and from just us having this conversation, it just seems like you're just a living embodiment of that you've spent so many years not even trying to be an artist. You just loved art and loved painting, and then you've just worked on it and built yourself up to a point where that gift is now making room for you, where people are just not only buying your work, but some of them are going out of their way to actually help you to achieve your goals. And it's very inspiring to hear that. What was life like growing up in Morata and then transitioning to somewhere like a really big metropolitan city, one of the biggest cities in Australia? What was that like?
It was, I'll say it's actually like mind-blowing, but it's unbelievable. That's the whole thing. Like,
was art an escape for you? Like, did you feel was a way for you to escape, or was it just something that...
I think, art, I always take art as my escape, because, you got every other, as growing up in Morata, you got many things to choose. I mean, not many things, few things to choose from. Like, you could either do sport, you could go to education, or you could just do things in the street. You could do anything you want to do, But I'm so thankful that I find art, that it's my escape, because when I was in school, like I came home. I'm this person where I always come home, like straight from school, and then I just came straight to my room and then sit down and paint or do something. I'm just like this nerd, kind of art, kind of arty, So I always.
All of us are like that.
Yeah, so like I just come home, just sit down, do my work, or even in school and stuff. I got some few friends where we just hang out and do a little bit of sports, or in a way, like I always separate myself to just like having time for my heart most of the time, and I just like that I find art, because I find that it's something that I gotta escape from it, and like escape from the world in a way. Like I always put myself in a way, like I think it's so crazy, like that idea where like if you see an art like industry here, if you wanted to compete with people here, you will compete with people here, and you'll be competing here. But if you think about international, if you want to compete out there, you're gonna be out there, and you're gonna compete internationally, and that's a rule. Like if you think locally, you'll be locally. you'll stick on the locally and you wouldn't go out there. And it's so great because when I was in Morata, even though I know my environment, I know everything, but my mind is like, I'm competing with all these artists out there. I'm gonna do something like how they do. That's why I find Renaissance art interesting. That I kind of do it in a way, and I think about their life, how they live and stuff. And the work that I do, I don't compete with artists here. But I always,
Yeah.
you know,
You have a global mindset.
yeah, global mindset, trying to look ahead.
Oof. It's so good to hear you say something like that because like Morata is not an easy place to grow up in, and I think a lot of people live there now. It's just and for you to work, it's good to hear that you've worked your way to where you are now because some people might assume that you've well connected or you just applied for a scholarship, but you applied to the schools that you wanted to go to, and in order for you to afford tuition and to live there, you just haven't relied on anybody else. You've sold your art and then you've taken anything. You've basically done whatever it takes to sustain yourself, and it's paying off. It's we see you traveling to and from. You always somehow you just pop up in PNG, and the next minute you're in Australia, and all of that. So yeah, continue your conversation. Like what were some of like the things that you really had, like the disciplines, and just the like. Talk to me about the grind, like how you really had to work your way out of where you were to where you are now.
Yeah. So I think the because it's growing up in a environment. I mean, growing up in a it's a really nice because I always think my parents and my elder brothers and stuff like that, and I always take care of my small brother. Yeah. So, but because we were brought up in a Christian home, in a way, because it kind of shapes us to focus on what we wanted to do, and our parents are so strict, even though I know every other situation, but they are always so strict in us of what to do, like what kind of decision we're gonna make and stuff like that. I always thank them for that. I always appreciate that they bring us in this home where we always have discipline, and I think because of this ethic, it also paved a way for me to like kind of think in this manner where I have to think about them, think about the situation. I have to get out. I have to do something good, something good for the community, and coming out from here. And I think because of that grinding, it kind of pushed me to do something that I wanted to be different from different from my parents. Like even though with different, like I have to do something better to give them a better lifestyle. That's you have to think about that. And so even though I'm still like not successful yet though, even though I'm doing all this grind stuff, but because those are platforms that I'm trying to build up. So one day I wanted to achieve that, is having this vision of me of doing things I wanted to do, and and then there's always these things about competing with international. That's why I love competing competing with all these art competitions in Australia.
I've seen you at quite a lot of competitions.
So yeah, I like competing with those because I knew that you have to see yourself. You have to see yourself among them. You have to you have to fight yourself to get to where you wanted to go, and that's how my work. I always try to go into those kind of things and to make myself out there, to go out and I don't know. Yeah.
What's the environment like? Like how different is it being an artist in Australia as it is being one in PNG?
Oh man, it's so much better out there.
Okay.
Because here you want to make living here. It's so good because you got inspiration everywhere. Like we got so much to get to consume for us to create amazing stuff. But because of our art market, it's not really good here, and we don't see art as a thing because especially for kids coming out, that's a thing. Like how can you make a living when you see some artists kind of they struggling at the corner, or like if you how these days some inspiration, like how do you going to push them to go further, because they don't see any breakthrough in this industry. But man, when I was down in Australia, there is so much. There is like artists are making the best of the world. Like they just living the best life, and they were doing the best things. Like and they were seen as some kind of some this industry in the world and stuff like that. But they is seen as genius of the world.
Wow.
That's just, and that kind of changed me. Like wow, like you see your value outside, like how good, like your work can change the world, and then you come back and you're like, we got so much to give to the Western world or to give to outside, because we got so much. Because right now, when you talk about like international, they were fighting about simple stuff like mental, like people are going for mental health, and then they were talking about those other things. That while we talking about like trying to live for food and stuff like that. How to live for the next day, and a bigger family, everything. Like we got so many things. I mean, so many good stuff happening here, and that's I felt like we got these things to give out to the world, and that if they could find us, see what we wanted to speak, and I think artists we are the medium to speak to the world, especially. That's why I try to create work that I create it for people here, but at the same time I create it for the world, because I want them to see this, the beautiful thing that we create.
And I think that's the benefit of social media. Social media has allowed us to find an audience outside of like the normal everyday audience, and allowed our art to reach people at a greater level, even people overseas. And I think that's really helped you to really build yourself and to get your work out there. What are some of the things, like, as you talked about like the art market, what are some things that need to be improved for art to be successful in PNG?
Yeah, I think the first of all is because, for instance, if you go around the street and now you will see some artists on the like holiday and stuff selling work, but selling work so cheap in a way. You put in your value, creating work, you replicate the work over and over again, and that's the thing. Like buyers, they knew what is going on, and they knew like if you put it that way, you could either be an artist or you could be a craftsman, or you could be. And if you wanted to make it out there, you have to stand your ground. You have to pick your voice, what you want to talk about your work. Because if you're an artist, you have to send message. You have to be this advocate of people through your work, and you have to stand your ground, and your work have to speak clearly to what you wanted to talk about. And I feel like I think for us for the art market in PNG, I feel like they need to be some good sweep and to finding out what's this important thing for us to bring our work out there. Like recently they have an exhibition in Cairns, and I think in Perth.
Oh yes, the one with the feature the PNG artists.
Yeah, I think it was a great initiative that they bring people out there, like artists, especially artwork out there. But what are some things that you're gonna do to keep them out there, like keep the to keep the artists out there, and give them like to connect them with curators from international community, international art market. How could you? Because you don't want to look at only PNG. You wanted to promote also like artists also to go out there and show what you can do. Because I think the art movement right now people are, because there's so many art movement happening around the world from the years to come, and I think now the focus is going on to like North American and from indigenous part of community and stuff. I think PNG, like especially from Pacific art, it's one of the things I think it's gonna come up.
Yeah,
but there's gonna be a new wave coming out where like Pacific art's gonna be like going out there. And
I kind of noticed that as well. Like me being on Instagram, I've noticed like in the Pacific, especially like the Polynesian islands, like in New Zealand, Samoa, Tonga, like and Fiji, like there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of films coming out and everything, and it always like causes me to look. It's like, okay, like how can PNG be part of that? Because it's happening. It is like indigenous native art is like becoming something that's brought into the focus now. And I'm constantly asking myself, like, oh, how can PNG tap into that? And, what are some of the ways? So it's good that you're here and you're seeing that also.
Yeah, I think, that's why, that's why I feel like they have to create some kind of, like, our institutions should create some kind of facility that makes it happen for people, because otherwise otherwise our work will, like, we won't be connected with this community happening right now, because if you look at Polynesians art and stuff, like they got their own patents and stuff that they put it out there where it comes with flying color, with like music or film or whatever, like for us PNG too, we got something to give, but we have to connect with our root.
We just need to find ways to bridge and just network with the right people who can open those doors for us.
I think that's probably will be the thing. So that's why I wanted to do this next project, like I was working on, is trying to connect it with them, like with something like that.
So how do you what's it like like selling, the process of selling your art and getting, or like, what's the word, hosting an exhibition? Like, how does all of that, what is that process like?
So throughout this, like throughout my time as an artist, I think I haven't been represented by any gallery.
Okay.
So I try to stick to do things for myself and try to do exhibition. Like I do it when there is a good show that is happening, I just sign myself to just doing it or something.
So
like
you
that.
apply to exhibitions, yes?
Yeah, like if there's some exhibitions that I'm interested, I just apply for it, and then I just like submit my work, or but most of the time I just sell my stuff through through social media or through connection with the collectors who, if they wanted my work, I just sell it to them. But I think recently, because I wanted to connect with like a gallery, because it's so important, and I realized that I should have done it before to be connected with the even though like you get you get a cut, like you get artists will get like 60%, the gallery will get like 40, which is always like that 40-50, or it could be like 50.
But they'll handle like all the things you don't want to handle, like selling and dealing with potential customers.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. And at the same time, like they connecting you with new buyers, new people who are gonna see your work, and that kind of like, I should have known. I should have done that before, but I felt like maybe it's the right timing, because I was in school, I was doing my thing. So now recently I'm signing up with I'm going to sign up with a gallery based in Sydney. It's called Nanda Hobbs. So they're a really good gallery. Like they represent some of the top artists in Australia actually. So
are they based in Sydney as well?
They're based in Sydney. So I wanted to get to under them and like trying to work with them, like doing some collections. But it's like you gotta have some few galleries who are gonna represent you. So like one in Sydney, you got another one in Cairns, or like and then and he was considering like there's nothing much, like there's no gallery and stuff. But in a way, like you could put your stuff out there, but but
like an actual specific art gallery. That's not near.
There is one here, like Moresby Art Center or something like that, in 8 Mile, down there. So, but there is like something that I feel like you have to have your own kind of people who see your work differently in a way. I feel like my work kind of stood at the outside. So that's why I love like putting my work. I made this thing that I sell my work outside and not in PNG.
That's like an important thing. That's one of the important things that I'm learning, or I've learned, especially when I'm starting this business and starting. It's important that you understand who your audience is and what you're creating, who you're creating for. And I've recently been learning about brand strategy, and part of brand strategy is you do like you understand, they do user profiles or like customer profiles. It's like understanding who your ideal customer is, so that you know how to reach them. Like not everybody is your audience, or not everybody is your customer. And sometimes I just have like conversations with like other like SMEs and businesses, and like just to practice like brand strategy. And I always ask them like, who are your ideal customers? And they always tell me, most of them tell me it's everyone. And I just sit back and like, Okay, that's a tough market to beat because you're not gonna be for everyone, and
That's right.
you have to, and it's better. Like the one of the things about brand strategy is that the more different and unique you are, the better. The more different and unique your audience is, the better, because you two can have that relationship and constantly have the transaction. You know, it's always a give and take with them. So it's better for you to understand who your audience is, and like that's why, like, for this podcast as well,
That's right.
like I'm very specific about my audience. Like, this is only for creatives and for people who are interested in the industry, and everybody else is like, it's good to have, you know, people from outside who are interested, but at the core, my core audience will always be the creatives, because this is for us to share and to grow and to build our community. And so it's good. You've done a portrait of a very famous rugby player, and you know, rugby is a really big thing in PNG. Mr. Sivanasiva, what was that? How did that happen?
Oh yeah, that was because it was last year. I was looking for like my cedar for Archibald Prize, and
That's another competition that you're
yeah,
entering.
yeah. That's one of the prestigious like art prize in Australia, and it's like one of the big ones. So I was looking for a few. I was looking for seaters. I was actually trying to choose some few people like from NRL, and you know, I was looking at Mal Maniga. I was like, if I get him, will be so good. And I tried to get in touch with him, but I couldn't get in time because the due date of the show will be like in the next few like 2 months or something like that. So yeah, one of my friend, he lives here and he works here in Moresby and stuff. His name is Dinesh. He is a mutual friend with he's a friend with Petro.
Okay.
So he was like, I can connect you with Petro if you wanted to do his painting. I was like, yes, I'll do it. Why not? Even though, sorry, I'm not a Broncos star.
And that's like,
I'm not
I was just about to say, like,
okay.
you're also very strategic.
I actually told Petro about that. I was like, I'm going to paint you, but I'm not a Broncos. But
because like, man, like Broncos is like, it's a really big team. It has so many supporters. So like, like just looking at it, it's like so strategic for you to just like paint him. Yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, I told him, and so yeah, Petro was so hungry. Like he was like, yeah, I'm down for it. Let's do it. So he made me, and we just have we have coffee and stuff like that. Then we do some photo shoot, do some sketching, and then yeah, from there I just took on and do my painting. So I did this, and I submitted to Archibald Prize. It didn't went to the finalists or whatever, so I brought the painting back, and then I resubmitted it in Brisbane Portrait Prize, and that is his territory.
Oh, okay.
So that we got into finalists, and so that was just last month ago, 2 months ago, where I was down in Brisbane. So I was with him. I invited Petro to come by, and he's such a really great person, honestly. Like even though he's like so, you know, he's a legend, but he's so humble in a way, like his personality and stuff. I can see like Pacific kind of vibe in him. And the thing is that I made connection with him because of one of the security guard at the National Art School. He's from Fiji also. And the same personality, the same smile, I kind of find it in him, that his portrait, it's kind of similar to that one. So I kind of responded to this painting, where it's like someone that you knew from another time, or like, you know, it's something like that, you know. So I met him, and then, yeah, we had a great time there in Brisbane. And so good that he came by. I was like walking beside him, and I was like, "Jeez, that's unreal, man." So yeah, it was really good, and then the show went well, and they just finished it like recently, and yeah, so.
So you're one of the finalists?
Yeah, one of the finalists. Yeah, one of the finalists. So they choose like 70 people, 70 artists, or 70 or something.
And the winner will be announced next year?
No, the winner is already announced.
Okay.
That was done last months ago. Okay. But unfortunately, we didn't get it. Like, you know, but it was such a great
major improvement. A finalist.
Yeah, finalist. It's that's a good thing. You know, to get to get to finalists.
Can you talk to me about the process of like how does your portraits, or how does a painting start, and how does it end? Like, what's the process like?
Oh yeah. Normally, if I want to do a portrait of person, like I just go sit with him and stuff, do some sketches, like knowing about the person or something first before. I like to sometimes just take photos and go, but sometimes it doesn't give this. It doesn't make this connection where you don't spend most time on the painting because even though you paint it, but then you don't feel this connection. So it's good to have some connection, never this conversation, have some cup of coffee or something like that first before doing the painting. Or if there's someone that you know about when you work on their work, it's always you can feel like there's some connection. There is something when you when you painting when you do the painting, and there's like you can like as an artist you would feel something like you wanted to work on it and you want to finish it because you got some connection. So yeah, so normally I kind of talk to them and stuff like that, and then later I just take their pictures or whatever. Then I just go home, do some bit of coloring, like see what kind of colors I'm going to use on there, or like just organize all these things, like because I like to capture it straight from like how to work on straight on photos, but at the same time, if you look closely at my work, you will see different types of colors. Like I like to mix like colors that don't go together, like turquoise and purples and all these color, like combine them together, like just put them on the canvas and then you put other colors on top of it. It creates this reflection. Like if you're a filmmaker and stuff, you will kind of understand how the lights bounce off and stuff. So your imagination is like you gotta look through what kind of light you want him to be, or like what kind of it's gonna reflect his face or something like that. So you create those things, and that kind of brings this atmosphere, and that what makes it give something special to it is adding all this different stuff to it. So people can look at it from distance, but they get closer. They get the experience in every brushstroke that you made.
I understand what you're talking about because there are two people I follow on YouTube. First is Proco. He does like art tutorials and drawing lessons, and the other one is Makobuchi. And Makobuchi is a self-taught digital artist, and then he moved, and he's now an actual artist as well. And he does illustrations for Disney and all of this. And he's self-taught. I was really impressed. And he does like tutorials and lessons. And he has a series called 10 Minute to Better Paintings. And I've learned a lot of my techniques from him, and especially color. And one of it, the point that he talked about, like random colors, he once did a study of like the Renaissance paintings, and he was like, you see like from a distance you see like warm colors and cold colors, but you zoom in, he was like, can you see the grays and how the grays like they mix well and create the shading? And it's like if you can. And the advice that he was giving is like, don't be too, like too strict with your colors. You don't have to be have fun with the colors and experiment and try and mix. You'll never know what effect you're going to get if you kind of mix these random colors. And from that, like I started to study like other artists and their work as well. I watched time lapses and I was like, okay, like all of this, like some of my favorite illustrators, like their work, because I'm a big fan of color. Like color and lighting are my things. Like if you, a lot of my work has a lot of color and lighting effects, and I like to study work that mimic that kind of like art. And I always used to ask, like, why am I drawn to it, or how can I replicate it? And when I see other artists work and they talk through that process and how they mix their colors, like, okay.
It's always
it's interesting, and it just brings another level to your work. Sorry, continue. So what after like you decided on like the colors and everything? What happens next?
Yeah, so after I decided, I like some of the times I just do some little bit of like color theory, like just do some sketches and stuff on smaller canvas, and just to get used to the color, or like just to get used of what kind of palettes I'm going to use. And then I just go straight on canvas. I just go straight, just do wash, then go.
So
I sometimes do grading.
Okay.
I sometimes do like I love do grading because it's like it do the proportion so right and perfect that you do it. And it works so well most of the time, and I kind of like this whole process of grading. And some of the times I just go straight on doing it. Where when I work on that, like straight on canvas, it's just like you're gonna do a lot of mistakes on the way. But I like correcting it. When you correct it with palette and stuff like that, it gives all this kind of really interesting characters to the image, and it.
Like it sometimes feels like therapy, like when you're just lost in your art, like. Yeah, sorry, continue. Do you do everything in one sitting, or does each piece, like, do you sit down one night and then finish the piece, or does it take several days, or?
You mean like, what do you mean, like our work? Like a
Yeah,
portrait,
like one of your big portraits. Do you do that like after you've decided on how to capture like your subject and then you do the actual painting, like the actual process? Do you do it all in one night, like one sitting or one day, or do you break it down?
yeah, like the process is kind of working in a way. Like if I choose, if I go through all my photos and if something that I like, I just stick on that, and then I just kind of work through like through that throughout the month. Like because my work, I could took like a month or two
Okay.
to just like slowly working on it, slowly
Yeah,
like putting
because
paints
it's
together.
huge. Your canvases
Yeah.
are huge. Mhm.
So yeah, I just like with tiny brush, I just like touch it, like just work on that, and just to work through the process. That's why like it's always good to plan it really well before doing it, because by the end of time, like at the end, like what if you're working and then you don't like what you choose and there's something better, you know? And there's always this thing, because I did it with one of the painting that I did, and I wasn't so happy with it with the result, so I have to paint over it again. I spent like almost 3 weeks or 4 weeks on it, and then I had to repaint over it again just to fix some of the stuff. And it's sometimes, you know, sometimes like you have to recreate something, like you put a face, you have to, you know, if you want to put a little bit of smile or doing something with the hands, like there's no hands, but you have to add something to it. You have to try to work with colors and how everything work together, and you know, like you creating this whole new human being, you know, even though it's from the same thing, but it's a different, you know, you wanted to create a message on it, so you have to,
You have to have like a proper understanding of like form and structure and anatomy as
you have
well.
to be a good analyst,
Mate, like those are things I struggle with, but man, it
me
just
too, bro.
it's just that's the thing like I've learned, especially like as someone who draws. Like if you draw, like that's a lifelong, like not just drawing, but like any form of art, it's a lifelong thing, you know. And like you're like a traditional artist, like I'm a digital artist. If I make a mistake, like Control Z stuff, you know, like I have that luxury. That's why I have so much respect for traditional artists, and I also know that they would make great digital artists as well, because they just have to learn the tools and how to like manipulate those tools, man. It's game over for someone like me. But anyway, I come up with different ideas as well. So how long did Seven Receivers? How long did his portrait take?
I think I took like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Yeah,
Because you were on a deadline, eh?
Yeah, so I have to work as quick as I can. And the thing is that I painted his portrait in Cairns, and then in Cairns I have to flew to Sydney. I have to bring the painting with me to Sydney. I push it all over, bring it all the way to the art gallery, art gallery in Australia. I was like, oh, job done. I'm done.
It's the satisfaction, I think.
Yeah, but I really love it. I really love this kind of just getting your stuff like on time, or trying to get things done, and then you feel satisfied about something, like yes, and then you just waiting patiently. Please. You know, are they gonna choose you or no? You know, it's just like but it's a bit hustling at the moment, because I've never made it to the finalist yet of Archibald Prize. So
That's a goal of yours?
That's a goal of mine. So I've done so many, like over the years. My first subject was a security guard. That was the Fiji guy. And the next one was the Bruce Spence, who was an actor, Australian New Zealand actor, was in Mad Max.
Okay.
Their whole one, yeah. And then,
yes.
Yeah. And then I did the other one was Matthew Riley, is one of the Australian author and stuff like that. And then I did this. So at the time, I kind of now realize who's my subject going to be the next, because I have to think about something that's gonna, I feel like it's going to be suiting, because as the recent event, what's just happening right now, because it's more political and more like subjective. So you have to think about like what is happening right now, relevance right now at the moment. So you talk about like now is like think about what's happening in the world, the wars and stuff like that going. So your artistic point, you have to think about that. That's just to get in there, think about what's happening and the relevance of today.
Mate, you're just dropping like so many. There's so many things like I want to just like nerd out and geek out about, but it's just good, and like I'm just from talking, I'm just seeing like how much you've learned, and you're just growing, and I think we have that in common, where we just want to grow and we just want to become better. really saying it. And just by talking to you, I see a lot of myself. Like, I'm not at your level, definitely not. But I see like the process of how we've been growing and how we develop. It's very similar. And I just want you just to briefly talk like we as artists we also go through a lot of hard times and tough times. What like motivates you or drives you and gets you through those times where maybe you don't feel or you doubt yourself or you never think that you're gonna make it, but what were the things that you kept telling yourself to get you over those low points of our journey?
So yeah, thank you. I think yeah, like everything kind of runs smoothly most of the time. I don't know. I sometimes feel like I had this golden egg most of the time because things just work out. I don't know how it works out. I don't know if it's. I think it's God. Or the thing
It's
is that
faith.
it's faith. It just works out. Like if I want to do something or if I want to achieve it, just like the path is created or something is happening. But there's always some point where like, especially like when I was in Australia and stuff like that, when I was down in Sydney, I went through this process during COVID-19 and stuff like that, and I felt like, whoa, I was creating work and doing these things great, but after that I realized that I'm going to live as an artist, but how can I make a living out of it? Even though I kind of see myself as, doing so well, at the same time I fear at the same time, why did I spend so much on invest so much on committing study and doing this when I can, there's some shortcut, just get out, get there already. Like why is it take it so long to get into this, to break through this, because there's always this boundary that you have to break through to this industry, even art, like you could be so good at it, but then there will be things that kind of hold you back that you're not there yet, and that kind of sometimes like pulls me back. I was like, shit, maybe I should have done something different, I should maybe do my subject, change my subject, or kind of
Change
maybe
your career path as well.
change my career path, or because I've seen so many, like you see so many opportunity kind of open up for you, like you could do any other thing to get there. But the thing kind of hold me back is looking at the beginning of how I kind of, that I was in Morata, like just doing that passion with dream to kind of commit myself just to create for the fun of creating and nothing else. But you don't worry about anything or whatever, but only mindset that you have is just you love creating work. And that mentality always taken me that I always look at that, and I sometimes I wanted to go back in time. Just wanted to experience that again, because that's the moment where you know that you're full on creative mode. Like you're just like you love pumping out stuff and doing some really great stuff. I always love my own stuff. I look back at my work and I always like, wow, I create those, and those works I try to do them now. It's gonna be different because those works are coming from a different
version of yourself.
Myself, and so that kind of that's something that holds me back. Is look back, and that also motivates me to also create. So I trying to also find my ways to create some new stuff or create new finding ways to and the thing is that throughout that experimenting thing, I discover so many things, and that kind of my advantage that I take it along the way to
It's just one big journey for you, and you're just having fun.
Yeah.
It just sounds like you're just having a lot of fun. But I get it. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, like now, it's good to look back to a time when nothing else mattered, and all you wanted to do was just create whatever crazy idea was in your head. And like now, it's good just to know that you've come this far, and then what is yet to come. I think it's a very exciting path for you. So tell us, what is you've mentioned that you are working on some new stuff. What can we expect from Mr. Lesley Wengembo in 2024 and beyond?
Thank you. Yes. So I think so this is a passion project that I'm now currently working on, and this project I actually tried to do that since 2019 when I was in Australia. I felt like if I finish my university, I'm going to go back home and do this. And I felt like now it's finally going to happen, but it's going to take a bit while because this work is a collaborative. It's not a it's a collaborative work with it's a film, poetry, music, and painting.
Ooh,
So it's all of this combined and stuff, and I already made connections with people who's gonna work on this project, and it's gonna be, it's titled Seven Faces of Motherhood.
oh, okay.
So it's about it's about mining. It's about mining and motherhood. Like it's about mining and culture. Like culture disrupted because of modernization, or talking about development in the area, and then we completely forgot where we've come from, and we abandoned our culture, and we just look to Western, which is good too. Because you see development happening, but at the same time we forget about our past, our ancestors, our forefathers who have lived through their life to come to where we are right now, and we cannot live their their lifestyle, and we have to bring it somewhere. So this painting, this collection is collections where I will create all the ladies. It's a painting of all the ladies, but it will be seven faces, and then they will represent minerals like gold, copper, and stuff like that, like on their face and stuff. But in a way, they'll be dressed in the traditional attire, but that sitting in the royal kind of way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like in the expression, we're trying to sow this sorrow in the eye, that they were looking at you in a way like you somehow going to connect with them. What are they talking about? So it's an allegorical piece, allegorical collection where like I'll becoming a mediator, connect with the motherhood and the audience, and connect them with the audiences, or something like that. So it will actually, so because I say it's a film because it's going to be documenting.
Okay,
Documenting.
nice.
So it will show the whole process of me in the creative process. So it will go through even showing the motherhood herself.
Wow.
Like I'm trying to create the motherhood in a form where you encounter her and she was like dancing and changing her faces. It's different faces like changing all over, and then showing all of that in one shot and stuff like that, and then like going back to the past, like how the life is and present is like now in the audiences, and they're the one in the studio in the gallery looking at the work. So it's all kind of a really crazy kind of video, film, music and stuff like that, where like everything. It's I would like explain it. So well, let me pitch it together.
Yeah. No, like I feel like you're giving too much away. It sounds exciting already, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing it. I think you're not doing it justice by telling us what it is.
Yeah.
I think if we experience it by ourselves,
Yeah.
when do you think you're going to release this?
So this piece is gonna be out like 2000, like when we 50 years, so 2025.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
So yeah, I wanted to release it at that time.
That's
So-
like so close. I didn't realize the
Yeah.
time's passing. That's like following year.
Yeah, following year. So that's what I'm trying to work on, and that's why I'm trying to prepare myself to go next year, and next year start on. So I'll be in my studio in the village creating.
Here?
paintings. Yeah, in the
nice.
village. So I'll be in my, I think probably in Madang or something like that, and
Nice.
creating all these works. So,
It's always a goal to get to a level where you can truly focus on a passion project. Like for me, like I'm always working and I'm patiently trying to figure out my own schedule so that I can take a break and just focus on a couple of my passion projects. But it's good. It sounds really, really exciting, and it's good to hear from like someone like you who hasn't achieved overnight success. In that you've done this for a very, very long time. That you didn't just decide 1 year that you're gonna do this, and then at the end of the year you just like boom, like this has been a long year. 12 years? 12 years in the making, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. And what advice would you give to your other artists or creatives out there who who are aspiring to achieve the level of success that you've achieved?
Yeah, I always kind of, if there's a few artists who sometimes talk to me and stuff, and how do you achieve and like how do you get to where you are? Can you kind of help and stuff? Or how do we get there? And I always tell them like, you just focus on your creative side. Just create as much as you can. And I think things will gonna work out but the thing is that you have to have this mindset of like, don't look only PNT, but look beyond where you are right now. And try to, just focus on that moment is that you just focus on creating new stuff that never been created before. And you could be any type of creative, but if your work is going to people, like, your success will come true because you put the work into it. And the thing is, don't give up. Don't give up on what you're doing and don't give up on your dream. This world is going to be cruel. There'll be so many things going to be happening and stuff, but you just keep your head down and then focus on your dream. And it doesn't mean like you will, like overnight you'll be successful. It will take a while for you to strive. So keep on going. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's just perfect. Just sums up everything all together. We're about to wrap up. Where can people find you on your social media?
Yes, you can look for me on Instagram on Wengembo Art, and also on my Facebook. It's also Wengembo Art.
And TikTok as well?
Sorry?
TikTok?
Oh yeah, TikTok also Wengembo Art. Everything is Wengembo Art. So it's so easy to find me, or you can type my name down and you can find me anywhere, even on LinkedIn too. Yes, I'm on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. We've gone a little over time, but that's fine. I think we've had such an enriching conversation. I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned so much from you. And I don't know. I have a lot to digest after this, but I'm so thankful that you've come on board, and just thank you for just making the time for us. And I think that's all from me. I don't have much to say. Thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on all the streaming platforms, thank you for your time, your presence, and your attention. I would like to say a big thank you to our sponsor, Smart Hills Corporate Solutions, for continuing to sponsor this podcast. You can find out more about them at their website at www.smarthills.com.pg. I also want to say thank you to my crew who's helping me shoot today, Judah from Vasili Photography and Trevor Mullen from Native Naka Photography, Native Naka Visuals. He's going to kill me when he sees this. But thank you so much for taking the time to be here today as well. And I think that's all from me and from everyone here. To all my fellow creatives, embrace your weird, dream big, and remember, all things are possible to those who believe. I'm Shawk23, Abarua.